All right. Well, good evening, everybody. Good evening. My name is Kelsey Maynard. I am the small business advocate for Invest Atlanta. Don't mind me, we're dressed up today. Invest Atlanta is the economic development arm of the city of Atlanta. And what we're excited to do is share with you guys. This is our small business webinars that we do monthly to make sure we're providing access and resources for our small businesses to really grow and not just survive, but thrive here in the city of Atlanta. This evening, we're talking about commercial property acquisitions and how to get assistance with buying a commercial property. If your business is operating in a space now and you have the option of buying, or you're thinking about growing your business and buying the property that you're going to move into to operate your business, that's what we want to talk about tonight. We're super excited about the opportunities that we have that we'll be sharing with you all today. So thank you all for joining us. A little house rule beforehand. Today's going to be more of a conversation where we'll explain some of the programs we have, or the program that we have. We have a commercial realtor that will join us as well to have a little conversation about what that process looks like. And then we'll be opening up for Q&A so you can ask the questions you need to ask to make sure you're informed. And then towards the end, we'll definitely want to share with you the upcoming event that we have next week, so can continue this conversation and really give you all the options and all the resources that you need to make a great decision for your business. But I do want to introduce Ms. Cynthia Freeman. Ms. Cynthia Freeman is our Assistant Director of Small Business Loans. Been doing it with Invest Atlanta for what, 14 years? The second time. I think she's been around a couple of times, but she's seasoned. Now when I say seasoned, I mean she knows everything that you need to know about it. I'm not talking about seasoned in age. It's just how knowledgeable she is of the process and how helpful she is to the small business here in the city of Atlanta. So I want to open up to her so she can introduce herself, number one, but also start to talk to us about the opportunity that we have with our commercial acquisitions.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our small business webinar tonight. And I'm excited to talk to you about our commercial down payment assistance loan program. And I'll tell you a little bit about how this program came about. Maybe about a year ago, we kept hearing from businesses in the city of Atlanta. I'll give you a couple of scenarios. One business came to us and said, I've been in my commercial space for 20 years and now the landlord is selling it and I have to find a new location. And I really don't want to go in a lease situation again because I don't want this to happen to me again. How can I think about purchasing a building? Or I remember one scenario where a development came through, they tore everything down, and everybody in that development, the old development, had to move out, and they had 6 weeks to move out. And they wanted to know, how can I avoid this happening again? So we heard what you were saying, and we developed the commercial down payment assistance loan program. And this program was designed to help with displacement, to help avoid displacement. So let me tell you a little bit about this program. If you are a for-profit or a partnership or sole proprietor, you qualify for this loan program. You have to be an existing business. No startups, but an existing business in the city of Atlanta. You have to demonstrate growth potential. That means you're making money, you're making revenue, you're making a profit, and purchasing a building is just going to take your business to the next level. You have to plan to occupy over 50% of the building. So you can purchase the building, you can rent part of the building out, but at least 51% of it has to be for your business. And that's a good secondary source of income, because if you can operate out of part of the business and then rent part of the business, then you're basically getting this building for free. If you are a nonprofit, we didn't leave you out, you qualify. But as a nonprofit, you have to have 51% of your revenue has to come from for-profit activity. So what this means is, say, for example, you're a nonprofit daycare, 51% of your revenue has to come from the fees that you're charging your client. The other 50%, 49% can come from donations from investors or donations from individuals that just want to donate money to your business. If you are a restaurant, in order to qualify, 51% of your revenue has to come from food service. We do not fund businesses where alcohol is the main line of business. Other ineligible businesses would include anything that deals with the nightlife, nightclubs. We don't do liquor stores. We don't do gambling facilities, but everybody else, you do qualify. So that's a good thing. So let me tell you a little bit about the features of the loan. This loan is a direct loan to the individual or a participation loan if you have another funder that's coming into the project. The maximum on the amount on the loan is $250,000. It's 50% of the total cost of the purchase of the building plus renovations. So 50% of the total cost of the purchase of the building plus renovations up to $250,000. And we'll talk during the question and answer period, we'll explain that a little more. The use of the fund, it has to go toward the purchase of a building or renovations or renovations. The loan size, anywhere from 25,000 to 250,000 if you qualify. And this is the good thing. The interest rate, 1 to 3%. There is nowhere in Atlanta or in the United States you can purchase a building for 1% to 3%. Now, this is a good thing to remember too. This is a 10-year loan, but it's amortized over 25 years. So what that means is you pay the loan off in 10 years, and at the end of that 10 years, there will be a balance. But the good thing about that balance is if you're in good standings with Invest Atlanta, we can convert that balance to a grant. So that is definitely a game changer. So basically, you're getting the building, you're getting the property, low interest rates, amortized to the point where your monthly payments are low. And then at the end of a 10-year period, if you're in good standings with Invest Atlanta, we'll write off that balance. Let me see, type of collateral. We'll take a second lien position or first lien position on the business. So if it's a direct loan just to you, we will take a first lien position on the property. But if it's a participating loan with a bank, which means the bank put in part of the money, we came in and helped the down payment assistance, then what we will do is take a second position to that bank. So when you're out there talking to financial institutions and other funding sources, they're going to ask you this question. Well, is Invest Atlanta going to subordinate their position to us? And the answer is yes. We have like a clawback provision. So those clawback provisions just mean that you have to stay in the business a certain amount of time. If you decide to leave early or if you decide to sell the property, then we have a clawback provision that says part of the revenue will come to Invest Atlanta. And if you decide to get into if you decide to apply for this position, we'll have a sit down with you and we can talk more about the clawback provision. Okay, the application process is basically the same as any other application for Invest Atlanta. The good thing about it, it has its own, and in Neighborly, it has its own application process. So if you decide to apply, you will go to Neighborly, our portal, and you will click on Commercial Down Payment Assistance, and that will take you directly to the application. Once you complete the application with all of the general information, the name of the business, the location, you'll talk about what other debt you have. You'll talk about who owns the business and what percentage. Once you get through that part and you have to upload the required documents, it's just simple documents. It seems to be a lot, but it really is not that much. It's a personal financial statement, management resume to tell us who you are. We ask you for a business plan. We ask you for projections, your tax returns, We ask you for a commitment letter from the other funding source. And then we ask you for just normal things like a saved affidavit that proves citizenship, certification that your business is registered with Georgia in the state of Georgia, a business license, and all those things that if you are running a successful business, you should have anyway. And last but not least, let's talk about how long this process takes. We have a credit review committee that reviews all of our applications. If you get the application to us at the beginning of the month, maybe hopefully we can get to our credit review committee at the end of the month. Once they approve your process, your project, then it will be maybe another 30 days to actually get you to closing. One of the things I would like to say to you, if you're thinking about purchasing a commercial property, if you're working with a funder, a major funder now, then the best thing for you to do is to start working with us at the same time. So that when you get your approval from your other funding source, you can get the approval from us at the same time. We put the two deals together and then we move you to closing at the same time. I'm really excited about this program because it's just a game changer for the city of Atlanta. It helps us with our goal of avoiding displacement. It helps small businesses generate wealth. And really, that's why this program was created. It's generating its wealth for yourself as well as wealth for your family that you can pass down and leave to your children or someone dear to you. So I'll turn this back over to Chelsea.
Give it back to me. Miss Cynthia,
If
you
you have
tried
any questions, I'm here to answer any questions and to just hopefully we can get you through this process soon.
Miss Cynthia, you tried to breeze through this. That was 12 minutes flat. So we have to go back and revisit some things. But
Right.
I also want to introduce Terry King on here as well. I wanted to make sure, number one, that this is, again, we want to make sure we provide resources and access. And so the experiences that we have dealing with our small business in the community is that we don't necessarily know the steps it takes to get to this point, right? So what happened is you're a business, you're thinking, I would love to own my own building. And so you go to a bank and say, hey, I want to own this building. Or you go find a place that says for sale and you go up to the landlord, you call that number, you email that person, and you say, I want to own that building. But there's steps in between this. There's usually people that have to review your financials, like us. You have to go and present something. You want to read the documentation and say, hey, what does this information even mean? There's clauses in here, and it happens with leases, it happens with when you're purchasing. And so I was like, let's bring Terry King on here so that she can explain to you what the process should be, and how you should be looking at these opportunities and how you move forward with that the right way. So Terry, thank you for joining us. Please, can you help us understand? You can take your time a little bit, take your time with the people. We got time to explain us what the steps are that we should be taking in order to even get into the space of commercial real estate.
Thank you for that amazing introduction, Kelsey. I'm like Miss Cynthia. I am so excited about this Invest in Atlanta products because, to my knowledge, and I know a lot of people across the world who are doing commercial real estate, Atlanta is the only place that is doing commercial real estate down payment assistance programs, and it's just out of this world. And I'm like everything else, I'm sure people will copy and paste in coming years, right? So I am Terry King, broker and owner of Terry King Commercial. We specialize in leasing, sales, and now property management of commercial real estate, shopping centers, office, land, all of that good stuff. So for you guys, when you're thinking about, if you're not already in this space, so I think some people on here may be in spaces that they're leasing and they're thinking about, hey, I don't really want to renew my lease again. I want to buy something. And then you may have people who, the idea of the business is in their mind and they just want to be prepared. So I'm just going to kind of speak to like in between those two places. So when you're purchasing a commercial space, the process is a little bit different from leasing, but they do share some commonality. So you want to make sure that you know how much you can afford. No matter how much you get approved for, you know how much your business is going to make, how much you need to market. When you think about commercial real estate, you have other additional expenses, right? So it's different from leasing, right? So the HVAC breaks, you break it, like you fix it. If the plumbing under the slab goes bad, sorry, my husband and baby are coming in from the park. But if the plumbing goes bad under the foundation, you're calling on your insurance, right? So you want to make sure that you have enough money in the pot to not only take care of expenses, but also to pay the rent, to pay Invest Atlanta, so you can remain in good standing and continue to take advantage of these products. So what it looks like once you're thinking about getting into a brick and mortar space to purchase, you want to know how much you can afford. You want to know is where your customers live, work, and play, right? So you want to be somewhere where they're already existing, or if it's a destination product. And I always say, like, if you're an urgent care or a spa or a child care facility, right? Like, we travel for those things. So and other uses are like restaurants, right? If you open up a restaurant, well, the people in the community are usually ones that do the heavy lift and provide the bulk of your bottom line, right? So you have to know, okay, if I open up this kind of restaurant concept in this neighborhood, will people come? Will people eat it? Or is my food that good that I can go on Instagram and social media, right? Like, what's my marketing power? But you want to make sure that you have an understanding of that, because unlike leasing, right, that's a more permanent decision. So you can't just kind of pop around. You say, "Ooh, it's just kind of slow, right? I want to get a different location 5 miles away." That would have been the better deal, but now you're already in it. So really, really make sure that you're doing your homework to know where your customers are, so that you can be successful right away. So if you're already in a location, really take stock and say, is this area working for me? Is it working for me? Or if you're saying, okay, well, I want to keep this location and I want to expand to a different area, right? Go and drive the market. Where are your competitors, right? Look at buildings that have maybe sitting a while and say, maybe I want to buy that. Because unlike with residential and commercial, only about 60% of things that are available for lease or sale are online. And about 40% of that 60% are behind very expensive paywalls that I pay for them. But you guys, it would never make sense for you guys to pay for them. So everything that's available is not always showing online. So always take a picture, write the address down, right? And then you can call people like me, commercial real estate agents, and say, hey, I want to hire you. Can we do some research on this on 123 Main Street? So once you've done your homework, you've hired an agent. I highly, 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 highly recommend hiring a commercial real estate agent. Oh, you need me?
Hold on, wait.
Yes.
What do you mean by hire an agent?
A
Because
commercial.
again, I know what you're saying, but in like, if I'm coming from a space of I don't know, so
Yes.
if I'm looking for a house and I'm trying to buy a house, there's an agent, and that agent, am I hiring you? Is that the word? Are we using that word the
Yes.
same way? Like, I'm hiring the agent. Do I have
Yes.
to pay you? Am I paying you?
Well, in commercials, sometimes you might, but oftentimes I'm able to get my money from the other side. So
Oh,
commercials a little bit different, but that's something that you would want to talk about with your agent and interview them. Get 3 to 5 agents, talk to them, see what their experiences are, what they can do for you, what areas they like to work in, what type of commercial real estate they specialize in. Because it's going to be different if they do warehouse versus retail versus office agents versus like manufacturing or industrial, or if they do multifamily, which is very different from any of the other asset classes. Yes, exactly right, Kelsey. You want to definitely talk to them and ask them, do they get paid at closing? Do they have a retainer? And what is the percentage that they charge, right? If there's a difference at closing, say the seller's paying 3 and the broker charges 4, like, do they have to cover that 1%? So yes, definitely, but you are hiring, but it is so worth it
yeah.
because I'm gonna get into it in the next phase, like residential commercial purchases also have a due diligence period, and what you negotiate and how you negotiate and the timing of the things that you ask for in commercial real estate can make the transaction a disaster, or it can make it very lucrative for you. So you want to hire someone that has the expertise in commercial real estate. It is very different from negotiating a house. And there's things that you have to look at. So yes. So once you say, okay, I'm ready to make the step, I want to call, you want to definitely call, reach out to Invest Atlanta, start the process with them, talk to Miss Cynthia, talk to Kelsey, and say, I'm ready to take advantage of this program. They'll start to collect your information, and simultaneously, you're reaching out to a commercial real estate agent. You're saying, I'm ready to start the process. You like me, if sometimes you might have a lender that you already work with, and if they offer commercial real estate products, not all lenders who offer business loans offer commercial real estate purchase products. So you definitely want to ask who they recommend or if they offer something like that. But if you don't, I always have recommendations for commercial lenders. You want to know what your buying power is. And once you have, because with this Invest Atlanta program, and let me know if I'm misquoting the numbers, but you have to inject at least 20% of your own capital, which could be your cash or a loan from the SBA or some kind of other private lender. Did I get that number correct, Miss Cynthia?
Well, it just depends on the funder on the other side. It depends on the major funder. Sometimes the major funder will require 10 to 20%. And our program can help you most of the time with that 10 to 20%. So it just
Yes.
depends on the major funder and what their requirements are.
Yes, and Invest Atlanta, if they want to take advantage of the commercial real estate down payment program, they would have to get a loan or provide cash for at least 20% of the purchase too, right?
For this particular program, we probably won't require that 20% unless the major funder requires it. Now,
Wonderful.
some of our other programs, if you're a
Time out.
startup,
Yeah, see, it's
we
gotten even better.
we do require 20% if you're a startup for some of our other programs, but for this particular program, it's not catered to startups. And we rely on the major funder to tell us, are they requiring you to put in your own 10% in cash, or can we come in and help you with your 10% or your 20%, or how much they are asking you to inject? So this
Yeah.
program is
So
a little better, it's a little different than just a regular small business loan.
Oh, it's
what
even
we're
better than I
oh,
thought, Miss Cynthia. Thank
slow
you.
down. They're losing the layman over here. So what you're saying is, so if I have a lender and they say, hey, so what we're talking about, the 20% is like the down payment, is what we're
Mhm.
saying, right? And
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
our program is the down payment assistance that they will require you from the major lender. So I'm trying to buy $1 million property and they say I need 20% down payment. Well, that's why I'm going to Invest Atlanta for, because Invest Atlanta has a down payment program up to $250,000 or 50%, including construction costs and things like that that can roll into it. And that's the 20% that they're looking for. Can come from Invest Atlanta plus whatever else need to tack onto it, up to 250.
That's correct.
I'm
Woo!
on it. Okay. Okay. We're getting somewhere. Now,
Yes, yes. And so after you get that, which for your private lender, that usually takes about 48 hours to get your pre-approval back after you give them all of your information. And then you would come to me, you say, hey, Terry, here's my letter. I'm ready to go shop for properties. Because by that time, you've already told me where you need to be, which is in Atlanta, right? Now I know how much building you can afford. I know how much square footage you need. And if you don't know that, like if you guys are leasing and you're thinking about expanding or downsizing, if you have competitors that you want to have a similar size and footprint to, you can just Google, best square footage footprint for a for a restaurant, for a hot dog restaurant, right? And Google will tell you, Google's very good at that. So they say, oh, hot dog stands only need about 1,000 square feet, right? And and a seasoned commercial real estate agent will also know, like, okay, if you need a salon, you want to be in about 3,000 square feet, right? Like there's kind of really good rules of thumb depending on the use. So you say, Terry, here's how much I can afford. Here's how big my building. Yes.
How do we determine? Because all right, I'm going back to housing.
Yes.
You can get pre-approved. Is there a pre-approval for commercial?
Yes, it is. So for lenders to purchase commercial real estate space, you provide documents. So you provide, tax returns, your income sources, and it's pretty similar if you're doing it with the house. Where they diverge, though, is commercial real estate lenders. They consider the income of the business, of how much money the business is going to generate. So if it's a really good property, you get the cost of the business, you get the, what it's zoned for. They take that into consideration, like highest and best use, what you can do with it, and they consider how much revenue potential that property has, which is a plus. So yes, yep, and you get all of that. So, and I always be prepared, but you'll have to have that for Invest Atlanta also. You'll have to be prepared to show your tax returns, bank statements, business plans, which like full business plans, like with like how the SBA requires it with cash flow projections, all of that good stuff, SWOT analysis. And yeah, you're pretty much good to go. And it takes about 48 hours.
I got more questions. Miss
Yay!
Cynthia, come on back to me, Miss Cynthia. I got a couple questions for you. So this is for both of y'all. So Miss Cynthia, this program, what is the percentage that the business has to operate inside of this commercial property? Because I can't just come buy a property and put a bunch of businesses that aren't mine, right? So I have to be a business applying for this commercial property to put my business in that commercial property, correct? What's the percentage?
Right. 51%.
So my business has to operate 51% of the building.
That's correct. And you can rent out the other 49%.
Terry, if I am coming to the bank and saying, hey, I want to get this property and there's already 2 tenants in it, I want to buy the building, leave those tenants and occupy the other 51%. How do I write that into it to show cash flow for the building already? Can I do that?
Yes, you absolutely can. So in a purchase, you would want to ask the seller, and that would be something that we can get when and that's the other benefit of having a commercial real estate agent, is because you'll have relationships, right? Because certain information isn't usually disclosed until after a buyer and a seller are under contract. But if I have a relationship and I can say, hey, landlord, hey, landlord's agent, in order to get approved for this amount, can you give me your current tenants' leases, right? Can you write them a letter of good standing if these are good tenants who've been paying on time, right? And they'll say, yes, Terry, here are the leases. And here, here's proof of history of their, them paying on time and in full. And it's also nicer because with commercial tenants, the leases are usually longer. So they may have been there for 2 years, they may have another 3 years left on their lease, right? If it's a 5-year lease plus a renewal, right? So now you can show that not only do you have a tenant in place for the next 3 years, but they're probably going to stay if they've been paying on time and they've been doing really well in the space, right? And options to renew. So you're showing potential income for the next 10 years to your lender. So absolutely. So you would get that due diligence information from the existing owner, which is even better. So now you have the income with tenants in place and the income that's going to come from your business. Yeah.
Okay.
So once you have all of that stuff, then you say, hey, I'm ready to search. And then once we find a building that you like, I know Invest Atlanta has to approve the site, right? But I know how to get that done before we even get to the next step of doing a letter of intent. So we make sure the address is approved. We get to a letter of intent, and that's where we negotiate all of the big buckets like price. Yes.
Girl, you're going too fast. Slow down. Everybody doesn't know this letter of intent. You're gonna breeze past something that we all missed before. What we've dealt with is that we will go ahead and either get the lease or get into, like, people have gotten leases
Mhm.
for spaces and didn't know, like I'm signed in, I didn't get the funding I thought I had. If I'm signed on this contract, right now I'm stuck. What is a
Yes.
letter of intent? Like,
Yes.
what is that?
A letter, okay, so a letter of intent, and I love this question. So a letter of intent is the step between identifying a property that you like and doing the purchase and sale agreement. So a letter of intent is a non-binding document. So for people who have seen it, it comes in all shapes and colors. It may be an official form, it may be on a Word document, it may be bullet points in an email. For all intents and purposes, it's a letter of intent. It's a proposal from either party to say, here's the address we want to purchase. Here's how much we're willing to purchase it at. Here's when we want to close. Here are the things that we want from the other party. Here's the information, all of the due diligence documents that we're going to request within 3 days. So if you're the buyer making the proposal, the seller can start to gather that information. And you'll say, here's how we're going to finance it. Here's how all of the agents are going to get paid. Here are the agents who are involved in the deal, right? And then, yeah, so like, yeah, and then the official location. So you go to the city and, you can get a screenshot of the deed and its official legal description. And yeah, and that's it. And so that's the meat and potatoes. So you say, hey, and what I like to always say is that we're going to want environmentals, we want surveys, anything that they can disclose ahead of getting under contract and that I can get beforehand is always good, because at that point, nobody's in for any cash. Because once you go under contract with that purchasing and sale agreement, you're required to, if depending on what you negotiate, right? The earnest money is deposited and you're on a clock. And that clock is ticking. So doing that, not skipping that letter of intent process is so important, no matter if you're leasing or if you're purchasing. Because yes.
How long can one have a letter of intent? Like, like how long does that letter of intent last before they move on to somebody else?
You
Or can
do
there
want
be multiple letters of intent and then I just go whoever brought the money first? Like, is it
well,
like earnest money? Like, what
it's
is
like
that?
dating. It's like dating.
Jesus.
Yeah. We're not married yet, but are we dating exclusively? So when we're dating exclusively, when it comes to a letter of intent, there's a clock on it. It'll say this letter of intent expires, in 48 hours at 5 o'clock. Right. And so then after that, it's kind of a gentleman's agreement, right? To say, hey, we're both serious about this. You like my offer. I like your property. Let's date exclusively for the next 48 hours to see what we can figure out. And then, but you're not married. So if within that 48 hours, a better letter of intent comes in, everybody, you as a buyer finds another property that's chef's kiss, right? Everybody can walk away, no harm done.
So 48
And
hours to
Kelsey,
3
now,
seconds. Yes, help me.
I was gonna jump in. Oh, go ahead and say what you want to say, then I'm gonna
No,
jump
no,
in.
no, no, no. You're jumping in.
Okay, so the letter of intent is important to Invest Atlanta as well, because I missed the part when I gave my presentation earlier. The property that you're purchasing must be in a disadvantaged or underserved area, the community development impact area, the CDIA, which means you cannot be purchasing a building in Buckhead or Midtown or West Midtown. You need to be in an area like Camilton Road or ML King, Donnelly Hollowell, Auburn Avenue, Edgewood, those types of areas in order to qualify for this program. So I missed that part. The letter of intent on the Invest Atlanta side gives us the address. And so now we have that letter of intent in our hand. We can go research the address. We can tell you, yes, this is eligible. No, it's not. So the letter of intent is very important on the Invest Atlanta side as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the question I'm asking is, I get this letter of intent. It only lasts for 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then what? What if the process is longer than the 2 days of letter of intent. So how does it move?
You said the process? Yes. So once everybody agrees to those big buckets, once you say it, once I'm the buyer's agent and I write it up and I submit it, the seller says,
Mhm.
yes, we like this, we're ready to move forward. I transfer all of those big buckets onto a purchase and sale agreement and send everything out for signature. And then the clock starts for due diligence.
Okay. And so
Yep.
that's that, and that's when everything starts working.
Yes, that's when everything starts working because there's so many nuances to commercial real estate. So during that letter of intent phase, you want to make sure, and if you have an agent, you want to make sure you're calling to get zoning verification that you can even do the business that you want to do, right, in the city, and you want it in writing. If you call, that's wonderful. Get that zoning agent's email address and say, thank you for the call, just verifying we can do X, Y, and Z. Because I've seen it where during the process of being under contract and closing, sometimes zoning changes, right? Sometimes zoning overlays change, things go away, and you can say, oh, here's what I bought it, here's what you guys committed to me, so now you're grandfathered in, right? So that's really important, but you want to do that during the letter of intent phase because you don't want someone holding, if it's $1 million at 1%, right? Like you don't want someone holding at least $10,000 of your money, and with a 5-minute phone call could have canceled that
Whoa, whoa,
all.
whoa, 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 whoa. Go back. So
Mhm.
with the letter of intent, there's also a dollar amount associated with it.
No, that's once you go into purchase and sale agreement.
And there's that 1%? Is that really a 1%? Like I have to put up
Well,
1%
it's
of the.
what you negotiate. Yeah. So once you, and that'll be in the letter of intent. So if you plan to put down 2% or 3% or 1% or no percent, right? You're saying, hey, I have the purse. I'm going to close in 5 days. I'm not putting any earnest money down, right? Talk your talk, right? You can negotiate. It's whatever you want to negotiate. But all of those big bucket terms like earnest money, when it's going to be deposited, how, whether wire, cash, or GOAT, right? Like it'll all be spelled out into the letter of intent. But once you go under contract, I usually see it between 1 and 3 days where people are putting down earnest money. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Hold on,
then
real quick. I gotta address everybody. Hey guys, this is a great conversation. I appreciate you for sitting with me while I'm having it. But if you have questions for me, Miss Cynthia, or Terry, please put them in the Q&A section. I'm reading them, I'm responding to them, but I will ask them. But if you have questions, I don't want you to forget them. So feel free to type them into the Q&A area, and we're gonna go into Q&A shortly. But if you have them, it's driving the conversation. So I'm looking at them, I'm reading them, I'm asking some questions now. But just go ahead and start putting them in there so we can keep this thing going. Oh,
yeah,
here they come. All right, go ahead. What were you saying?
I love it. I love it. But and then once we go under contract, everybody agrees on all the big bucket items. You giving the signed letter of intent to Invest Atlanta. They're working on your behalf. Miss Cynthia and Kelsey are getting you in front of the committee. And during that time, you're doing all of your due diligence stuff. So you're verifying zoning again, right? Because now you're going to start to do what's called surveys, where you're trying to see what your boundaries are. Depending on your use of the property, you have setbacks, right? You need to be so far back from the street, so far, to the east of your neighbor, right? No, not near water, or maybe there was an old dry cleaner there and they have an EPA remediation plan, right? And you need to make sure that that's good. So you need to start doing all of your environmental tests, all of your soil tests, your surveys. You want to get it inspected. You want to get a roof inspected. You want to do all of like your plumbing if you see anything funky with the plumbing. And then once all of that stuff is done, and I like to give, depending on it really depends on the property. In a city like Atlanta, you really do want to have a sense of urgency. Don't rush the process, but understand how long because something that's in really bad shape versus a turnkey property, it's gonna look different. So be reasonable so some people say, oh, commercial, you can have a 6-month due diligence. Well, maybe if it's land in rural Georgia, right? And you have to do a lot of digging and stuff. But if it's a turnkey restaurant that's already operating, you don't need 6 months. You probably need, 45 to 60 days, if that. I've done a deal where from under contract to close was 6 weeks. It was 3 weeks. Right. So, and it's just very simple, but you always want to have a sense of urgency, because that's going to give you the best leverage. Now, when you're taking advantage of this excellent product like the commercial down payment assistance program, you definitely want to keep that in mind to say, hey, okay, I submitted my application at the end of the month, so the committee just met, right? So I can't meet, they're not going to meet again till next month, right? So we need to take that into account to say we can't close in 15 days, we need to close in 60 days, or we need to close in 67 days, right? To give the committee time to review my application, approve me, and fund me. So you want to make sure that you're cognizant of all of the moving pieces, just kind of as a rule of thumb for all of the due diligence check marks I mentioned, like environmental, soil, all of that good stuff. It takes give yourself about 2 weeks for everything, because you're going to deploy everybody at the same time. All of your general contractors, you want to start to get your renderings, and I can feel it in the comments. I can tell Kelsey hasn't asked me yet. So people always ask, well, what if I don't buy the property? and because it costs, this is, you're paying at least $500-600 for every single checkpoint that I said. If it's an environmental taste, you might be paying around $2,500. But again, that's what I'm saying. Be prepared to pay it. At least that good 3%. 3 to 5% of a purchase price, those are just called pursuit costs, right? And if you decide to back out of the deal for something that you find, it's worth it because you're backing out for a reason, right? It's not worth it to, what is this? Cut your nose to spite your face, right? Well, I already invested this, and I've already paid for these services. I'm just going to go ahead and buy the property, but it's going to be a problem child for you down the line. Just pay the money and cut your losses and go find something else, right? But if there's no remedy, you absolutely need to back out. But please, please, please always go into commercial real estate with the mindset of you're going to have to do some work. You're probably going to have to do the floors. You're going to have to paint. You're probably going to redo the bathroom, right? It's not like a house where it's turnkey and you're like, oh, they have chandeliers already. It's rarely like that. So definitely keep that in mind. And then once you guys get through due diligence, then you close, and that's it. So once you get the green light from your lender that you're clear to close, Invest Atlanta that you're clear to close, we close, and that's it. So that's really and then you get your keys and you go be successful.
Ooh,
And
goodness.
Kelsey, let me
Yes, please, please.
Okay, let me jump in and also say something that Terry said. When you start your process with the bank or the other funding source, start your process with Invest Atlanta at the same time, because you're going to run into a situation where the bank is ready to close and then you just contacted Invest Atlanta and now you're wanting us to close in 15 days and we haven't even taken your project to our committee yet. So if you're going to buy a property and you know in your heart this is what you're going to do, start the process at the same time. Start your application with the funding source and then start your application with Invest Atlanta as well. And then that way we will be on the same track and we'll end up at closing at the same time. And then I want to also touch on another thing that Terry talked about. It's about hazardous properties. If you are purchasing a gas station or a dry cleaners, there's 99% that property has hazardous material on it. And you need to do a phase 1 and a phase 2 assessment to make sure that you're not buying a property that in the long run you can't use for the purpose that you need to use it. And to add to that, Invest Atlanta has a brownfield revolving loan fund as well. So we can help if you want to buy the property and you do the assessment and you know you have to clean it up, then we have a loan program under EPA. It's called the Brownfield Revolving Loan Fund. We can help you clean up a property as well. And you can do that all in conjunction. You can get the brownfield loan to help you clean up the property. You can get the commercial down payment to help you with the down payment. And you'll have 2 loans with us, but that's not going to create an issue with us. And the last thing I want to say is funding. There are two sources of funding when you're purchasing commercial real estate. There's the SBA 7A, which is the bank loan. And then there is an SBA 504, which is a loan that comes through a certified development corporation. And with the SBA 504, it involves a bank. A bank will put in 50% of the total cost of the project. The CDC will put in 40%, and the applicant is going to be required to put in 10%. And that's when Invest Atlanta comes in. We help you with your 10%.
You said the CDC, like the Center for Disease Control?
No, a certified development corporation.
Okay. You
That's
start throwing
CDC.
out CDC.
That's
I was like, what?
CDC.
Okay.
They're the
Okay.
ones that manage the SBA 504. And the good thing about the SBA 504, it is the only program where you can occupy 51% of the building, and you can rent out the 41%. The SBA 504 allows you to do that.
Okay. We got some questions over here. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read the questions to you. If you have the answer, either one of y'all. Some of these questions I know the answer to. I'm gonna read out loud anyway, and I don't want to disrespect anybody. So the first question is: there are multiple tenants in this property where our business is located. The landlord has put the property on the market, and some of us are interested in purchasing the property together. Is it possible for multiple businesses to apply for the loan together to jointly purchase?
I would say if you're going to do that, then the multiple businesses need to form a business. Now, it might create an issue for us because this particular program was designed for businesses that are going to operate, 51% out of the building that they purchase. Now, we might, depending on where that business is, where the building, the real estate is located, we might make some exceptions. But I would say if you have, say, there is a strip mall and there are 3 companies in that strip mall, the 3 companies want to purchase the strip mall, then the 3 companies need to form a company, and then they can purchase the strip mall under that company with the understanding that all 3 of those businesses will be operating within that strip mall.
Okay. Okay. My business partner lives in Marietta, but I live in Atlanta. Can we both still apply?
It doesn't matter where you live, it's where the property, the commercial property is located. So you can live in Decatur. we don't care. It's just where the property, the commercial property that you're purchasing is located.
And that your business will be operating out of that property.
And this particular program is not for property owners. So if you own property and you rent that property to businesses, then you don't qualify. This is for businesses that want to purchase a commercial space and operate their business out of that commercial space.
Okay, next question says, how many days of due diligence for commercial real estate deals? How many days is due diligence for commercial real estate deals?
So I would say, I mean, like I said, I've closed, contract, meaning we went under purchase and sale agreement and we closed within 3 weeks. On a commercial space that was about 8,000 square feet, right? It really depends. But if you're using products like Invest Atlanta, if you're going to use SBA loans, you want to definitely give yourself at least 45 days to close. And with the 45 days, you have to make sure your stuff is really tight. So before you start, get your business, make sure your business plan is in order. Make sure you've done your taxes for that year. Make sure you can pull, because some people, don't like to keep their cash in the bank, right? A lot of business owners here actually. So, you want to start at least depositing it and showing that you've deposited a certain amount and then take it out if you're going to do it that way. But you definitely want to have like bank statements where you can show that you're making money and you're generating revenue. And that so that everything goes smoothly. So when Ms. Cynthia says, I need your profit and loss to be updated, right? Because maybe the one you uploaded was over 30 days old, right? So you need to be able to go, yep, I got that, and get that to her within the hour. So when you're taking advantage of programs like SBA and the commercial real estate down payment program with Invest Atlanta, you want to make sure your stuff is really tight in a minimum of 45 days.
Thank you. Aha, question, not a question, it's a statement. Also, guys, if you are needing some assistance with applying for this loan or any loan, we have loan assistance. It's on the atlinbusiness.com website. It's atlinbusiness.com. The first pillar, it talks about business consulting for a loan. I think it says loan and grant assistance, something like that. But you can go there and there's people there that can help you with updating your profit and loss statement. Make sure your application is solid. And so we have that assistance at no cost if you have a City of Atlanta business license. Next question.
Oh,
I've
but
been looking.
can I
Go
jump in
ahead.
there really quick?
Jump,
And
jump back.
I
Playing
apologize.
double
I don't know
dutch.
if this is a plug for myself or not, but if you guys do take advantage of that technical assistance program, I am a consultant with ATL in business under the Atlanta Black Chambers team. So if you're just saying like, hey, I need help getting from where I am now to getting under contract with space, and then you need a couple consultations and no cost to you, you can go in and fill out the application and it'll come to me, and we can start to meet however often we need to meet, or we can schedule a session like that. So that's just putting that out there for commercial real estate.
Well, I was about to say that because the next girl asked, she's looking for a building. She's been looking on Fairburn Road, can't find out information for the property. And she's gonna say, Terry, can you assist me? And I'm gonna say atlinbusiness.com. There's 4 pillars when you go to atlinbusiness.com. The first one is for grant and loan application assistance. The next one is for find a business consultant. When you go on there, you can actually click learn more about find a business consultant, search for Atlanta Black Chamber, and fill out the information for that, and it will go to her, and you can actually work with her to get the assistance that you need. Boom.
Yep,
Next question.
at no cost to you.
At no cost. Next question. Where do we go online? Got another one. Come on.
No, I was gonna say, Fairburn Road, some parts of Southwest Atlanta, some parts of Fulton Industrial. They may say Atlanta, but they're
The
really
South
not.
Fulton.
So be careful when you're in those areas and make sure they're in the city of Atlanta. The city of
Also,
Atlanta proper.
you can search GIS Atlanta, and you can type, and when you search GIS Atlanta, you should see an opportunity to go and click a map and type in the address, and it'll pull up if it's in the city of Atlanta or not. And usually when you type that in, it may show you who owns that building or information behind it. So you can use that link as well. Next question. Where do we go online to access the details for this? InvestAtlanta.com. And then how do we help? You'll go to business, and then you'll go to our different loan programs. This one's called Commercial Down Payment Assistance Loan Fund, but you go to InvestAtlanta.com. But also, because you're here, I'll email you, and there'll be a link to go right to it, so you'll get an email tomorrow. But that's where you go. Next question. How long will this program be available, Ms. Cynthia?
Until, this is a revolving loan fund, and that's the good thing about all of our programs. They're revolving loan funds. So we make loans, and then as the recipients of those loans pay us back, we make more loans. So the program is gonna be around for a while. Right now, we started out with $3.2 million, I think, and we have till the end of December 2024 to get that $3.2 million out the door. When that money starts revolving back in, we'll make more loans, and we'll just continue to make more loans. It's over time, really.
Thank you. If I'm seeking to purchase the building and add upgrades, is there room to also purchase equipment?
Yes, we have other loan programs, not this particular program. This is strictly purchase of the building and renovations. But we have the Atlanta Recovery Loan Program, and then we have maybe 14 other loan programs that deal with working capital, equipment, furniture, fixtures, signage. And depending on your financials, if you're able to service the debt on another loan, then you're more than welcome to apply for the equipment loan as well.
All right. This said, does your business have to be existing at the time of applying?
For this particular program, yes, it's not open to startups. It's open to existing businesses in the city of Atlanta.
Okay, this said, I'm interested in opening up a salon suite. Do I qualify for this loan?
Not if you're a startup. Are you starting, if they're starting the loan suite, no. If they're an existing, salon suite, if they're an existing salon suite, then yes.
Okay, okay. We got 3 more questions. I'm trying to get through them because I got some announcements. Is this applicable for a business purchasing an apartment building for multi-unit residential living? No.
No.
Cool. Is there an interactive map of the hub zones that qualify for this program, this CDIA?
Mm-hmm. I have a link that we use, and we click on that link, we put in the address, and it tells us whether or not it's in the CDIA. Now, you can also use GIS, like you said, Kelsey, to find out if it's in the CDIA.
What is the monthly business revenue requirement?
The business revenue, we look at net profit. So we need to know that your business is profitable, and that business has to be able to service the debt, all of the debt. So if you're getting a loan from SBA and then you're also asking us for a loan, we look at the net profit that you generated in the past years, and then we look at your projections for future years, and we determine based on all of your liabilities and that net income, whether or not you can service the debt. And that's how we make our determination.
Last question. I'm an in-home daycare ready to transition to a building. Do I qualify for this loan?
Not, well, okay, so home-based businesses will qualify provided you've been filing taxes. So if you have your 2021, 2022, and 2023 tax returns, and you've generated a profit over those years, and now you're moving to the point where you want to purchase a building, then yes, you do qualify. As
All
long as you
right.
can, again, the key here is servicing the debt. As long as your financials are strong enough to service the debt and any other debt that comes out of the transactions, then yeah, you do qualify.
Okay. Okay. Well, listen, I appreciate you guys for joining us. I thank you, ladies, for being with me to help answer these questions that I had. But I want to let you guys know one thing. I told you what we're about is bringing resources and then give you access. And so we've been talking about funding sources and banks and SBA and all that. And I don't want to leave you hanging. So guess what? February 21st at Pittsburgh Yards, we're doing a program with the True Fund to talk about commercial property acquisition. Why? Because the True Fund can fund your commercial acquisition. They have a program, a loan fund that can get you up to $5 million to purchase commercial property, and it's not just located in the city, but I'm focused on the city. So they have up to $5 million that you can apply for to get funding to buy a commercial property. And then we already told you we have the down payment assistance part of it that can help you out. And so we're having an event on February 21st at 6:30 p.m. at the Pittsburgh Yards so you can meet the funding source, that you can talk to them, find out what their process is. And we'll all be there to talk about how you can meet from the beginning to end. Terry will be there, I'll be there, Miss Cynthia will be there, the True Fund will be there. So everybody that you would need to make this transition happen, this purchase happen, will be in the room. February 21st, Pittsburgh Yards, 6:30 p.m. If you have signed up here, I'm going to send you the flyer and the information for that as well. Don't worry about it. But I want to say thank you all for joining us this evening. I hope it was informative. Hope we didn't go too fast. I hope we slowed down so you can have a good grasp on what it looks like to purchase a commercial property for your business and take it to the next level. But it's 7 o'clock. We're ending here, but you will get an email about this. I did record it, so you'll get a link to the recording as well. No worries. I got you. But we'll be here February 21st. Join us to talk more about commercial property acquisition. Terry, Cynthia, thank you all so much. Have a great night.